Yo, what up, guys? What up? What up, man? Hopefully, y'all guys are doing good, because I'm doing good today, man. It's live stream day. Hold on, what's going on here? There it goes. There it goes, guys. I don't know what was going on over here, but I got it straightened out. Dude, hopefully, y'all guys are doing good, man. I had a good week. Um, Again, I'm doing very good. Can't complain. What happened to this right? Hold up. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Is this right? I don't think this is right. Happened to this right? All right, I'm trying to. Okay, I think I got it. Yes, there it goes. Yo, guys, what up? What up? Hopefully, y'all guys are doing good. I had a good week, been a busy week, a lot of things going on, been working a lot of different, just a lot of different things, guys. Project wise, been working on different things. Um, did actually right before the live stream, it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm a little bit late on the live stream. Did some updating to my NAS. So I have, can't see it, it's on the side. I guess if I move the camera, you kind of see the rack. Where is it? Right here. So down below, you can't really see it, but I have a NAS set up. Um, I have 20 terabytes worth of storage, and I had one stick initially of 16 gigs of RAM. Well, I noticed that whenever I check I'm using TrueNAS, so I logged in, looked at the dashboard. Dude, I pretty much saw that I was using the majority, like everything. The cache was through the roof. I didn't even have that much gigs available to even cache for whatever it's being utilized, right? Because I have been using it a lot for different things, video editing, loading files, things of that nature, right? So, uh, yeah, and so I had another computer that used to be my workstation. Ultimately, I ended up taking the RAM from that, which is 64 gigs of RAM, and slapped it in there. So I actually did a TikTok about it. There's a few parts, and I'm gonna do some testing. I'm still gonna add on to it. So it does have. I ordered a network card that should be coming. What's today? Sunday. It's coming on Sunday. 10 gigabit NIC card. So once I get that bad boy, I'm gonna add it on. Now the issue I still have though, I need to buy a switch that has for 10 gigabit. So I may add that to the list of items to get, and I'll probably get it next month. They're actually not cheap, man. They're kind of pricey. I saw a 4-port, 10 gigabit switch. Dude, it was like 350 or so for 4 ports, man. So yeah, it's not cheap. But ultimately, my Mac Studio that I have, which I actually got that this week, it comes with a 10 gigabit port. So that's where I'm doing my video editing, and that should work very smooth, right? 10 gigabit port. All I need is a 10 gigabit switch, and I got a 10 gigabit NIC card, and dude, we're good to go. So yeah, guys, but I've been busy, man. I've been working on different things. I've been working on some YouTube stuff as well. So I actually got 2 videos. Actually recorded. I recorded them today. So after the live stream, I'm gonna be doing the edits on it, and then I'm gonna have those published. I'm gonna have one published on schedule tomorrow morning. This is all part of my Python beginner course. So anybody who's interested, who's joining my stream, that's new to programming and wants to learn some programming fundamentals, check out my Python beginner course. So again, I got 2 videos. I'm gonna release them, actually both tomorrow. I'm gonna release one early tomorrow, and then release another one tomorrow afternoon. So those are already made. I have to do my edits on it, and be good to go. So that's what I've been working on, guys. Hopefully, y'all guys have been doing good. So on today's stream, guys, we're gonna talk. There's a few things I want to talk about, but one main thing there, one thing we're gonna talk is going to be, you know what? I just thought about it. I don't think I have a scene for this. Ooh, let me see. I think I forgot to. Yep, I need to change this. So I made some changes and. Let me see. Let me make these changes real quick, guys. It's pointing to the wrong. I need to point it to something else. So let me go ahead and add this source real quick. Gotta add a monitor. Oh, I had it right. Never mind. This is right. Yes. So now I need to make this fit. And let's see. Okay, so that's fine. There you go. This is what I need to change. See, I changed the wrong one. Let me go ahead and add this real quick. There it goes. Cool. And let's see, do I have this on here? Window camera 1. Yep, there it goes. Got it. Cool. All right, cool. Just want to make some changes. Got that in place. Yeah, guys, so one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, which some of y'all may have heard, Google ended up revealing pretty much their Chat GPT version, right? Which is called BARD. I don't know. BARD just seems like a weird name, man. Like, at least Chat GPT, I don't know. It just kind of sounds, I mean, it's not like a name, but it just kind of sounds more techno, what's the word I'm looking for? More technical, I guess, right? It's kind of like a drug, right? You know, in pharmaceutical, they come out with a new drug. Oh, we're gonna call this drug MRA2 for or whatever. It just kind of sounds more very scientific, very science-y. That's not even a word, but you know what I mean. But BARD, like, dude, I mean, I get it. It means something, but like, still, dude, man, like BARD, like, I don't know, man. It's a terrible name. I don't like it, dude. I think it's a terrible name. Terrible name. Put it that way. Nevertheless, guys, well, let's talk about that a little bit. So, the Google revealed their version, which is called BARD of ChatGPT, and the interesting thing about it is, I'm not sure if somebody did not test this beforehand, or maybe they went with the confidence of, we're just going to ask it a very random question in front of everybody. And whatever the results that we get back, those are the results. And we could show them how it works. Let's just put it this way, man. It did not work out that way. They presented it, they asked it. What was the question that they asked? It was something from a space perspective. There it goes. What new discovery from the James Webb Space Telescope can I tell my 9-year-old about? So again, this is a question they decide to ask it, right? And I don't know if I have the responses on here or not, but either way, it provided, I believe it was like 3 responses back in return, if I recall. And the interesting thing is, out of those 3 responses, I believe 2 were correct and 1 was incorrect. Now, here's the thing: one could say, "Well, it's not bad." I mean, hey, I get it. One could say, "Hey, that's not too bad for X and Y reason," but it's like, my thing with that is, dude, when you're doing a demo, it does not make you look good when things are wrong, right? And we've seen it before. Sometimes, you may be lucky and it doesn't really affect you as much. Other time it does, right? It just kind of works. But there have been a lot of failures that, and anybody who knows too, when you're trying to launch something, especially that's very new per se, you're gonna be buggy. Like even back in the day when Steve Jobs was releasing, was it the one of their computers right back in the day? There was stuff they were coding literally right before they showed it, and it was still buggy, but they showed the items that would work. And so they try to focus on those items and try to demo those as much as possible. And again, ChatGPT is not perfect. That has flaws, dude. I have asked it questions, and there's stuff that it gives me back that is wrong. Simple as that, man. It is wrong. I know it's wrong. Or better yet, or it gives me back results that are missing things, right? Like, it's not that it's wrong. Technically, what it gives me back is valid, but there's a few key pieces of information that is actually important overall, because without those pieces, it doesn't work. But nevertheless, it missed. A good example, and I know I have mentioned this before, I have asked it about, and I did this more of a test to try to test ChatGPT. But when it comes to connecting to Python, uploading a file through SharePoint, and it gave me back code using the request package. But one of the things that it missed, like everything that it had on there looked valid in ways, right? Overall, I understood what it said. It made sense. It looked valid. But the piece that it was missing overall was the authentication piece. I mean, SharePoint overall, unless it's something that's publicly available, because you can make file public, but in general, that's not how it works, man. You gotta authenticate. You gotta either have an access secret, key of some sort, or username password, which is like email and password, or if it's on-prem, you still need a username and password. Like, you need authentication. Without authentication, you can't do nothing. You just can't, man. I mean, so that was an example where it did not provide any example of authentication, which again, it's not perfect, man. It has flaws. So the whole thing was what happened with Google this week, where they demoed their BARD, Chat GPT competitor, you want to call it. Dude, it made mistakes, right? And it just happened to be made mistakes in front of everybody, which affected it badly, dude. It dropped 9%, dude, which is $100 billion lost, which is crazy, man. Hey, what up, Python developer? Got Python in the house. What's up, man? How's everything going with you? I don't know if you saw, we're just talking about the Google's, kind of demo this week, their Chat GPT version, you want to call it, and how it failed. And here's again, and my thing with that is, even though one of the reasons why ChatGPT may not is not being affected by it too negatively right now, the way Google is, because A, is private. I mean, there is no shares to sell or anything of that sort. Number two, ChatGPT came out first to the public anyways. And because it came out first to the public and it rolled out, and people have already been using it in general, been using it pretty extensively. There have been a lot of people testing it out and using it pretty extensively. That there's a lot of correct things that are coming out of it, but there's a lot of flaws with it too. It's a combination of both, right? Anybody who had tested it long enough, you'll see there is some issues with it. At least in the way I use it, there's issues. Maybe if you're asking a question like, hey, create this blog post for me. I mean, honestly, it may not be too big of an issue because it probably gives you back what you want. It may not, the problem with that, in a way, it may give you something too generic that everybody else is using. But nevertheless, not that it's wrong. It just may be too generic. But when you're dealing with code, like that, you can see that it's wrong. And you know that it's wrong because when you run it, it'll error out. So that's kind of, I'm looking at it from that point of view, right? And but yeah, Google on the other hand, they're not private, they're public. And right now, a lot of investors, Wall Street as an example, they see Google as, they're waiting to see what they're going to do. And everybody waiting to see where's their version of it, because if they don't have a version, Microsoft is about to steal a lot of their shares for search. And if they don't have nothing to compete with. And Microsoft revealed this week as well their demo of, I don't know, let me see if I can find their demo, but Microsoft has their ChatGPT demo. I believe it was this week. ChatGPT Bing demo. Let's see if I can find the video. I think this is the video right here. Yes, this is the video. So you could see how they integrated it into Bing. And here's the thing, the question was always, well, how are they going to use it? Like, how was Microsoft going to use it? My guess, and this is what I mentioned in my previous video, was they're going to integrate this through their search. Because people are paying for search still. So it's kind of you're still going to give them results where they can go to websites for certain things, right? Which, that's kind of the way they have it designed. But you're also going to have, in this case, they put it to the right side where, the results for ChatGPT, those kind of results are, are being displayed. So it is giving you kind of like a direct answer. So it kind of gives you both, right? You still get your normal searches and it gives you URL links. But now it also, on the right side, it kind of shows how the ChatGPT portion of it works, right? And then, of course, you can interact with it by clicking on Let's Chat, asking more questions, and then it becomes more interactive. Just like the way ChatGPT is right now. After you ask it a question, you could ask it more questions to kind of fine-tune a better result what you're looking for. And it's pretty cool. Like I believe it was this demo, the way they showed it was they asked a question about monitors, computer monitors. And maybe this is where they're showing it. They may be showing it here. No, this is vacuum. But they're asking about computer monitors. So it showed them. It talked about different types of computer monitors, this and that. And then they asked more questions like, which monitor is best for, I don't know, like gaming. So then they actually provide them with a list. Here's a list of all the different monitors that are ideal for gaming. And then they asked another question, which is the cheapest monitor, pretty much out of the list they provided. And then they provide another list, like narrow down the list. So now it kind of like, it's more interactive instead of the user having to go, type in, try to search manually certain things. This is where it comes handy and it ultimately narrows down your search for you as you communicate with it. And now what I think would be interesting to see, and I don't know if they're going to incorporate this or not, but if they do, it would be cool, in my mind, would be if as ChatGPT providing results back, like, kind of like the monitor where I mentioned, where it shows a list of monitors, like, 32-inch monitors, and then it narrows down the list to gaming monitors. Then, as I ask it, hey, what's the cheapest? Then it narrows down the list to a smaller set of monitors that are for gaming and so forth, where it would actually have links to those monitor, like the names. But when you click on it, it would take you to the store to go buy it. But again, that's where, in my mind, they can make money off of it, because that's kind of where, like, if I'm a if I'm let's say Amazon, right, or I mean anybody. I'm trying to think. Best Buy as an example. Amazon, Best Buy, what other one? Micro Center, and they all have the monitors. Well, now it becomes kind of like a bidding war. Like, hey, you want to bid where when you know somebody clicks on that link, it's gonna take them to your website, right? Best Buy website or Amazon website or Micro Center website to purchase that monitor. And then that's kind of where I could see money, the revenue coming in from, because that's kind of how it works today, right? In search, you have to bid, and then ultimately based on the clicks, that's how they make money. But ultimately, sometimes it could get expensive, and you want to be at the top of the list, especially for something that's very very popular, right? So like everybody, it's a very hot item, or it's a very popular item. Well, in order to get there, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money for it. So, but nevertheless, though, something like a monitor, right? Maybe a gaming monitor that's $250 or something like that. There'll be some kind of bidding for that, especially for the stores. Which store wants the user, if they click on it, to direct them to their store to purchase that item. So it will be cool on how that ends up working out. Microsoft, hats off. They just invested in ChatGPT and already implemented it in Bing. Yeah, dude, it's gonna, again, Microsoft coming at it fast. I didn't expect it. I did not expect them to come at it that fast, but I think they have to, man. Like, I really think they know right now, because I think they probably are seeing it or hearing it, where Google's right there. They're working on something. But what Google is working on is not there yet. And it may get there. Here's the thing about it. Google may build something that may be just as good or even better. But if it takes Google another year to get there, that means Microsoft has a year to take away a lot of market share. And for Microsoft, even if, let's say they could take away like 15% of the market share, that's a lot. Like, that's a big chunk. So that's a lot of revenue that we'll get out of that. And then especially if it works, if everything works properly, there's probably not too big of a reason for people at that point to want to even go back to Google. That's the other thing too, right? Once they steal the shares, even if Google comes out something that's very similar or even better, slightly better, by the time you grab a new user, especially they like it and they get used to Bing and all of that. I mean, they may not go back, right? It's gonna be hard for Google to take these get the people back, pretty much, right? So it's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be very interesting on how that plays out. Do you have Databricks account? I do not, man. I do not have a Databricks account. Let's see where, there it goes. Yeah, man. I do not have a Databricks account. I may need to look into it, and then this, depending on how they do their license and everything, probably look into getting an account. And then, of course, we could do some testing and things of that nature. But yeah, man, I do not have one right now. But I'll add that to the list, man. I'll add that to the list on getting an account set up and, start playing around with it. Then yeah, man, we could do some things. I can make some videos related to that based on any questions, and then also, play around with it on the live stream for sure. One of the other things, guys, I want to talk about is the TIOBE Index for February. So, and this is interesting, man. Like, good old C++, man. C++ been around for, I don't know. Dude, how old is C++? It is been around for a while, man. It's been around for a while, and it's still going strong, dude. It is moving up a lot. So where are they now? So good old C++ is in number. It moved up from fourth place to third place. And then a good old C still in second, which is very interesting, man. I get. Let me put it like, for gaming, a lot of gamings, right? They use C++, and to me that kind of makes sense, right? Gamers who are gamers, that's what they use, C++. They also use C#. So C# is gonna stay up there, and C# is used for other stuff, not just gaming. There, of course, web application, desktop application. I mean, this goes on. It's used for a lot of stuff, especially if it's like a Microsoft house. Most likely, they're gonna use C# and .NET for sure. This is the one that's very interesting, man. Visual Basic, like, dude, Visual Basic is doing better than JavaScript, which is kind of odd, man. But maybe I understand it, and I say maybe because the few things that come up in mind for me when it comes to Visual Basic is this VBA. Now I don't know if they have a section for VBA, but if they're counting Visual Basic and VBA as well, then let me see if I could find VBA down the list. I just want to make sure that VBA is not being mixed in, which I think it is. And because for me, the only thing I could think of is, all right, when I think of Visual Basic, it's an old language. It's actually not that popular per se, but Excel is very popular, very, very popular. And there are people that use. I remember back in one of my previous companies that I worked at, one of the guys that came in, what were we coding at the time? I think the stuff that we did a lot there was Python and C#, and then of course database, SQL Server database. Either way, he came in and there's a lot of stuff that he was trying to do that. I mean, you could do it in Excel, but it just felt like it was too much for Excel. They were trying to build forms in Excel and all kinds of other stuff. I get it, you could do it, but it was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, man. It makes more sense if we could build a C# app or something basic with the UI forms and all of that. But no, he wanted to use VBA and Excel to build it. And it was complicated, man. Like, it became very messy. And then once he left, there were like requests to do updates. Like, dude, this code is just like messy as hell, man. And again, it works well, but I feel like it's like trying to build some sort of application in Excel. Like, literally the UI, and he had many tabs and all kinds of function, like stuff, like a lot of forms, and it's just a lot that he was trying to do. And I get it. I mean, he has the skills to do it, so nothing. I mean, I'm not trying to take that away from him, but dude, it just felt like it was way too complicated for something that if that was really needed, should have been put something that's more scalable. And then ultimately that file got corrupted or something. Then there go that app. That app was gone, man. Which again, I don't know. It's very. That's the only thing I could think of. I know I worked in a company too where they actually were using Visual Basic for their desktop. They created a desktop application, and they created this app some years back, and the application was built on Visual Basic. Dude, there's all kinds of limitations, man. Like, the application that they built, because we had to use it to do some testing or whatever when the updates were implemented. And it had to be ran on a 32-bit machine, which is number one, which is crazy. Just the way it was compiled, because it's an old application, the way it was compiled, it had to be run on a 32-bit machine. The 32-bit machine that they gave us, I think only had like maybe 8 gigs of RAM. So now we're dealing with slow laptops because of the limitations of the software. Like, it was all kinds of issues, man. It's like, it made no sense. But there was a project, like after I left, there was a project they were working on, and it sounded like they were going to switch it over to .NET, but it's almost sounded like they're going to use a newer version of Visual Basic, which I didn't get. Like, dude, if you're going to rebuild an app, why keep... Again, only thing I can think of is because they already have a team that does Visual Basic, and I guess they don't want to fire the team, or maybe the team had input on what they're going to use from a stack. But I don't know, man. I mean, for me, I don't. If I'm trying to use them, especially a Microsoft product, I don't think I would use Visual Basic to build a desktop app. I would use C#, but I don't see. I don't know, man. I'm not talking about like the little personal project either. That's fine. This is a enterprise an application that's used for the warehouse floor to do their logistics. Dude, it's being used by like thousands of people at once. Like, and then not just the people, but there's all kinds of automation from the conveyor belts, the robots that's moving stuff around. So all of that's sending data to the system. Like the back end, anyways, right? The UI is more for the users who are scanning or entering in data. But again, that was built in Visual Basic. But the back end, of course, it's all the same database, which in this case was an Oracle database, was going towards to with just all integrated to the database. But still, like, I don't know, man. For me, I was like, why not create a web app, man? I just feel, especially nowadays, there's a lot of web developers. You could easily put a team together, and I think it would be a lot easier to roll out changes, because it was a pain in the ass to roll out some of these changes that they did. Because with desktop app, they got to roll out the application to like literally hundreds of workstations, and yeah. Let's see. Last time we were working how to call store procedure in AWS Redshift using Glue. Yes, we were. I actually did some testing on that, and I'm trying to think what came out of that in my testing. So a lot of it had to do with the drivers on not being able to call the procedure, which is very odd, man. So like in Glue, when you create in AWS Glue, you create a database. Ultimately, that database is part of a data connection, which could be Redshift. And then you could, so ultimately what that means is when it comes to connecting to Redshift to load data to call a specific table, that works. Even if you're going to use Spark, PySpark, you could, call the table per se to load data. But when it comes to calling a procedure, there is no functionality. At least, again, let me rephrase it. At least not without using another package. So, of course, we tested. I think I actually tested this offline, but I think we tested some of this online as well. Some of the packages that I tried, one of them was PyODBC. Now, I tested that out. The problem was there's no drivers, no Redshift drivers that was able to find. So, and this is what I did not test, and I think this what may actually work, so we could test it out, is instead of using Redshift drivers, use Postgres drivers. So one of the things that I have done in the past, and I don't know why, I just thought about it. That's why I haven't tested it out, but I should have. Let's test it out real quick. Is it was a database management tool that I was trying to connect to Redshift, and it wouldn't connect for some reason. I think it was something related with drivers as well. Like it didn't have drivers for Redshift. They didn't have an option to select Redshift. And again, this was like 2 years ago or so. So what I did at the time, I was like, you know what? Let me use Postgres, because keep in mind Redshift is kind of built on Postgres, right? Overall, so I used the Postgres drivers and it worked. It allowed me to connect to it. So let's do that. Let me go ahead and log in. So let me get my credentials real quick. All right, cool. So let's go to AWS Glue. Let's go to jobs. Let's see, what was it? Okay, here it goes. Oh, you know what? I did try Postgres. Never mind, I did try that, and I must have got an error as well. So let's run it real quick. Let me see what error did I get. So in this case, can't open PSQL ODBCW file not found. Let me see what this file is. This is file not found. So let's see what this is all about. Let's see. The problem is we cannot update anything. There's anything that we need to try to update that will not work. Another way we normally do it in our process is we don't do it through Glue. We have an external software called Visual Crones, which ultimately that tool could connect to the database or Redshift, for example, or Glue, and we access Glue to the command line interface. So AWS command line interface. And so we connect, we execute a job that way. Once the job finished, let's say whatever the job is that we're doing, then we could call the database and literally just call the procedure in one as a step. Which again, it's more flexibility for sure, because Glue doesn't. I mean, Glue does a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that, at least compared to the tool that we use, there's a lot of stuff Glue doesn't even come close to doing. But man, you would think this shouldn't be one. This should be one of those issues, one of those things that should be pretty straightforward. Let's see. Let's see what we could find out real quick. Yeah, again, we cannot update anything on there, so it almost makes me believe that there is no drivers set up, which is why I cannot find anything, cannot find any of the drivers. Even something as simple as the Postgres drivers, because that should be pretty pretty standard for the MOSAF. And the problem was using the PY Spark. So let me get out of. Let me go back to my jobs. So we have, what's the other one? Test 2 and 3. Let's look at test 3 real quick. Let's see, what are we doing here? Yeah, this didn't work. I got errors on this one. Ultimately, I'm able to call the database. You can see my Redshift cluster 1 here. So got the connection, got the database, but ultimately we have it's ultimately called a table. There's no way to call the procedure, right? So what I need, let me see, where is this coming from? Direct JDBC source. Which again, we're passing in all of this. Where's table coming from? There goes DB table, connection, options. There goes connection options. So let me look at this real quick. See if there's anything in the connection options related to procedures. Let me make this bigger, man. I just realized it's kind of small. There it goes. Okay, what was this called again? Create dynamic frame from options. Create dynamic frame from options. We got connection options right here. What do we have? Table name. Hold on, let me make sure. Connection options. There it goes. Connection options. We have table. Use connection properties equals true. Table name, then connection name. Connection options. Hold on, this is, no, hold up. I'm looking at the wrong thing. This can't be right. Is create dynamic frame dot from options. This is not it, my bad. Glue. Glue context. There goes the glue context. So let's look at glue context. Under glue context, let's see, what do we have? Glue context. Create dynamic frame. Oh, this is under PY Spark. No wonder I'm looking at the wrong thing. What I need to look at is let's see. Let's see if it finds it. Let's see. Just see something real quick. Create dynamic frame dot from catalog. Is that what it was on RS2? Nope, ours is from option. That's the difference. Not from catalog, but from option. So let's see. Dynamic frame glue context, which is what we're looking at. From catalog, no, from options. My bad. From options. But this is not it, man. Is it? Hold on. Let's see. Connection type. Here we go. The connection options. The DB table property and the name of JDBC table for JDBC data store that supports schema with a database specified. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, never mind. So this is it. It just didn't look the same because it doesn't. This is all like one. Where over here we actually have it as create dynamic frame dot from options. But either way, it is the same thing. So let me go back and let's see. But again, this is to create dynamic frame, which is why we're specifying a table. Let's see what else do we have. Are these all create? What else? What do we have? This is to transform, which ultimately we don't. That's not what we want to do. But again, though, this is not the right place to do what we're trying to do either. Trying to see if we can find some kind of workaround in ways. Let me see if there's anything related to procedure. Trying to think. So PY ODBC does not work because it cannot find none of the drivers. So that doesn't work. PY Spark is not designed for that. So it's why I'm trying to, now the more I think about it, I don't see how that would actually work either. Let me see what else. Python calls to AWS Glue API. It's best to pass parameters explicitly by name. For example, create job, the name, sample, command, script location. I'm thinking to run a procedure, maybe we're coming out of the wrong approach. So let's go back and let's look at Lambda. So let's open up Lambda. Let me shut this off. I don't need this running. So let me... delete. Yeah, let's go ahead and delete this. Cool, that's deleted. And then we should be able to delete this. Or I guess maybe in a little bit. Either way, we'll go, let's see. So let's look at Lambda real quick. Let's create application. My bad. Let's go and let's look at creating function. Let's see from scratch. Get S3 objects. Let's just see what's in here. Just curious if there's anything related to Redshift. All right, let's just create a blank one then. So let's do from scratch. I'm going to call this execute procedure. And then we're going to do Python. That's fine. Let me make sure. Let's see. Use existing row. I think this, let's see, which row do I have? Let me see what's in this row real quick, because I'm not sure. Let me add on to this. I'm going to add a Redshift. So Redshift, I'm just going to do full access. Again, ideally you wouldn't, but in this case it's fine. Just for the purpose of testing, let me get that attached. So now that we got that attached, let's go back. Let's create a function. Okay, so what I want to see now, let me go back to, where's my Glue Studio? Let's go back to jobs. I'm going to look at this Python script. I'm going to copy this because I want to see that is I'm not sure, man, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think if Lambda has that package, PYOBC. And if it does it have these drivers? And if it does have those drivers, then we'll be able to better tell, all right, is it going to work or not? So let's just see what happens. I'm going to call it test 1. That's fine. Let's see if it's running real quick. Let's see what happened. Okay, so it did run. Did not error out, which is good. So now let me open up Redshift. And let's take a look at that procedure. Let's go to query data version 2. And I believe, let's see what we're doing. I know under the dev, with the publics. Yeah, there goes store procedure. Show procedure. Okay. So what I was doing here was, all I'm doing is updating the sales table to this quantity where this cell ID equals that cell ID. So let me close out some of these. I don't need some of these. I don't need that. Don't need that. Don't save. Don't need that. All right, here's sales, right? Just want to make sure. So we're dealing with dev. I was updating sales table. So let's take a look at, let's run this. Oops. So let's try to find this cell ID. Because ultimately this is the one that we're interested in. So let's see, quantity sold. So we look at quantity sold. What do we have? Quantity sold 99. Now here's the thing. Let's make sure that this actually worked. So in order to confirm this, what I'm gonna do is let's do an update. Update this table where the hell, man, this keyboard acting funky. So let's set quantity sold to, I'm gonna put 1 for now, right? So let's run this real quick. Let's see, what do we have? So it should be 1. There it goes, right? It's 1. So that's good. Hey, Nicolas, what's up, man? Hey, Lou. You are video SharePoint and Python truly helped me out, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm glad it was beneficial, man. You know, so I'm glad that I was able to help you out for sure. So I do have, I'm working on some courses too, man. Right now I'm working on the Python beginner course, so that may not necessarily be for you because, you know, you probably already know at least the fundamentals and basics of Python. But I do have, for this year, I'm going to be building a few courses, right? Each course is going to have a few, you know, a handful of videos, maybe like a dozen or more videos. So I'm working on the Python beginner course now. I got 2 videos I'm going to edit tonight, so I got a busy night tonight. After the live stream, I'm going to be editing the videos, publishing them tomorrow. But either way, I'm going to have a course that's going to be related to Microsoft services. So in this course, I'm going to be going over everything from SharePoint to OneDrive to Outlook to Word, Excel, and ultimately how Python could be utilized with all of these services. So, you know, especially like I use Python, I use Microsoft services a lot. There's a lot of other people that use it too for their company. So I'm going to be making a lot of videos, a lot of different scenarios, right? How to upload files to OneDrive, how to download files from OneDrive, how to migrate files around, you know, from a OneDrive to SharePoint. I mean, the list goes on, right? So there's going to be a lot of videos, like for sure a couple of dozen videos. So that's in the pipeline for this year for sure. So let's run this again. I think I said I had 1, right? Yeah, 1. Boom. So at least we know it's 1, right? If the procedure runs as it should, I'm hoping it does, it should change that value to 99. So now let's try it again. If we go back to our Lambda function that we have, we're going to go ahead and do a test. And let's see if, did it run already? Dude, it ran kind of quick if that's the case. I don't know if it ran. No, it hasn't ran yet. Okay, that's what I thought too. Like, dude, that seemed way too fast. Let's see. So let me close out of that. So started, ended request, report, duration. No, it's still one, so it did not update. Not yet. That sounds nice. Looking forward to the course. Always is good. Good. Always it's a good idea to review the basics, and that Microsoft course sounds very nice. Yeah, man. Again, hopefully it'll benefit you for sure. But yeah, man, That's the part of the plan. I got a few courses, and of course, all the courses that I'm working on for now is going to be free. I'm going to put on YouTube. I am going to put it on my website. So I am working on a website that is going to be called codingwithlou.com. So that's the domain, codingwithlou.com. And ultimately, in that website, a lot of the videos that I am making, these courses, I'm going to put it on that website. Again, it's going to be free. I'm not charging or nothing, but I'm going to organize it better on the website where it's kind of a little bit more structured, a little bit more easier to find the videos. It will be all in better. Like there's some stuff I could do on YouTube to kind of put things together, like a playlist and so forth. But on the website, other stuff, like as we find solutions, as I solve problems, it will get posted on the website as well too. So again, when people have problems, like, hey, how do I solve this problem? Hopefully they could like find it, like search it to the website and be able to see if I have made a video or maybe have done some kind of a blog post of a solution for that problem. So that's kind of like the whole purpose with the website in a ways. But yeah, man, I'm working on that, and hopefully that should be published by the end of next month. So yeah, man, there's actually a lot of things I'm working on this year for sure. But again, man, I appreciate y'all, man, because again, as people are, I'm hoping that it helps out people, right? But also, as people watch my videos, that helps me out. It's in the manner of like supporting the channel, and hopefully try to grow the channel as well over time. And there's a lot of things I want to do to the channel, but got to do it slowly, right? Baby steps, right? And it's growing, but hopefully we will get it. We'll get it to the level that I think we could get it. But it's gonna take time. But I think we'll get there. All right, let's go back and let's look at the Lambda function. Thank you, man. You are really generous with your knowledge, for real. I'm trying to, man. Again, I'm not gonna say that I know everything, because I don't, man. There's a lot to know, but I think I'm pretty good on trying to, figuring out solving problems. So even if I don't know the answer, there's a good chance I could probably solve the problem. And of course, as I solve it, that's where YouTube comes in, right? Because then I now can make a video, and then somebody else has a problem that I had or somebody else requested. There's a video hopefully that could help out. But again, it takes time, man. It does take time to solve the problem for one, then make the video, edit, publish. So it takes time, but again, nevertheless, man, I do enjoy doing it. So I think it's all worth it. And again, I think in little bit by little bit, get the channel, continue to grow the channel, man, and get it to a point where I think we can get it to. So let's see. Oh, did I not save it, man? Is that what happened? Dude, I don't think I saved it. Damn it. All right, let me try to test it again. I don't think it was that, man. It's running too fast. Too fast. Why are they doing that? I'm trying to think now. So it is saved based on what I could tell. Nothing has changed here. It is calling that procedure. I don't think I could. Let me see. What can I do here? Connection cursor, yep, that's fine. Commit, close. Let me make sure that it is giving me what I'm thinking. Message. I just want to make sure, man. I'm trying to confirm that it actually is working. See, it didn't give me back my other response. So what happened here? Why did it not save all? Close out of the results. Let me do that. Let's see. So the return, it should return this back as well. The response, no response. Let me deploy this. This is kind of odd. I'm not sure why it's not. Let's see. Let me go back to Lambda. Let's look at our functions, which is this one here. So let's test it out. Okay, now it failed. See, it didn't fail earlier, but now it did. So why did it fail this time? There it goes. There it goes. Now it took my changes. So never mind. So that's why. Okay, PYODBC initially looked like it was running, but it really wasn't. So this package does not exist. I was hoping that maybe it was included by default, but it's not. Let me see. The other thing that I could think of is AWS Glue. Redshift procedure. No, my bad. That's not what I was looking for. Duh. Bodo 3. That's what I was looking for. Bodo 3. Because this may actually work. Redshift procedure. That's what it is, man. I don't know why I completely forgot about this. The Bodo 3 package. That should be part of Lambda. We should be able to use that. So let's look for Redshift. There we go, the Redshift. So we're gonna, call this the client, but then now we want to, let's see, they're an execute, or what do we have here? Snapshot, no. Cluster, nope. Let's see, what can we do here? We don't want to create nothing, so not create. We don't want to delete nothing, so we're not deleting nothing. Describe. Enable, nope. Get cluster credentials. Get writer, modifier, modify cluster. Reboot cluster. No, so this is more with the service itself, which makes sense. Okay, now this makes sense. So, yeah, never mind. This would not work. Let me see if there's something with RDS. Again, I'm assuming this is going to be strictly for to create snapshot, create cluster, delete, which all of that makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's not going to work. Trying to think what does lambda. Let's try to see real quick. AWS lambda Python, which database packages are available. So let's do it that approach, right? We're looking at get a complete list of modules available in 3.9. So PYODBC not available. Yeah, so I knew Boto 3 was part of it, but that's not going to help us out here for what we're trying to do. Trying to think here. So PYODBC is not part of it. I'm trying to think what else. Is there another? Is there anything else? Any database packages that are included that maybe we could use? Let's see, what do we have here? So again, there's a way where we could import in our own packages. I can't do it now because I don't have everything set up on this computer. This is my streaming computer. So I would need to do it from my other computer that I use that I have everything everything ready to go, like installed on. But I'm just wondering if man, I don't see. Damn, they have tkinter. I guess it is part of Python, but I guess that makes sense. It doesn't make sense having a lambda because it's a UI, but I guess I get it. No, man, there is no Python package. There is no database packages installed in lambda. So that won't work. Again, it does work. We could import in our own third-party packages. There's a process to do that. I've done it before. I have a video kind of showing all that. My only issue right now though is the computer that I'm using, my streaming computer, I don't have anything set up right now. I have to get everything set up to do it, and it will probably take a little bit longer because it's already 10:30, and the stream is going to end at 11, so we're under 30 minutes away. So I was trying to hope to see if maybe there was something available in Lambda, but that's not the case. And then let me try to think. In AWS Glue, the problem is PYODBC does exist, but the drivers do not exist. So because the drivers are not available, we cannot call the procedure or the database to execute the procedure. So that doesn't work. Let me see, what else can we do? Bodo 3 is more for the services, right? To like start it on, shut it off, things of that nature, right? So we can't do that. Does not help us out when it comes to that. Just trying to think. Let's see, what version is this that I'm looking at? Let's see. Nope, no PYODBC. Nope, this doesn't have nothing related to that. I'm just curious, maybe this older version does have some additional packages that can be used, but nope, I don't see nothing under here either, so this doesn't work. And what is this, 3.8? Let me just check 3.7, man. Maybe we'll see something in here, but I'm gonna assume probably not. Nope. Let me see, what can we do, man? So if we can't do that, so let me close out of this tab. Again, we could deploy. I don't know. We could deploy PYODBC. Maybe we can. The only reason why I say that is I believe there's some C files part of PYODBC, and I have had issues deploying those kind of packages over to Lambda. So that may not work anyways, even if we package it up and upload our third-party packages to Lambda. What else? Dude, there has to be a way, man. Like, out of all the stuff that they have, you would think when it comes to running a procedure on schedule or on a whenever, right? Whether it be after a job, like maybe when data gets low, that you could just execute the procedure. But dude, it seems like there's not. Everything else you could do, you could call the query to get data. You could, which is read data. You could load data, but you can't call a damn procedure, which doesn't make sense, man. Let's see what we could find. AWS call Redshift store procedure. Let's see what we could find through here. AWS Glue job call Redshift store procedure. Okay, let's see what we can find here. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Anyone help out? Need to run Redshift store procedure? Any way to always have the error to this query? I do have inputted a wrong query. So I actually tried this as well too, and what was the issue, man? I had issues with this as well. I tried this approach, and I had issues. I'm trying to think why. You can use the below code to execute procedures. So what are we doing here? Write dynamic frame from JDBC config. The frame. Did he respond back? Thank you for this, but I got a new problem. Question is the correct format of the code in calling a stored procedure in Redshift. Create statement. Try execute query. But got a new problem. Question is this correct format of code in calling a stored procedure in Redshift? Post query, which is this guy here, begin, call, procedure, end. So frame is, so this, is he getting that from their procedure or no? He is not. Let's see. Connection options. We have database table. So you specify the table. Database, which is like ours dev. Then is post action. Oh, so what this is doing is writing data to this table. That's my guess. What this is doing is writing data to a table, and then after it writes data to a table, it does a post action, which in this case is post query. That's so that kind of is odd because with this, so I get it, but based on what I'm reading, if this works, it's saying if we have a job where we're pulling data from Redshift, let's an S3 bucket, and we're loading it to Redshift. So that piece makes sense, like, and then you're gonna have a query run after the fact, like after the data gets loaded, you're gonna have a procedure run after. That's where this post action, which is happens to be this procedure, which let's take a look just to confirm. Let's take a look at this to see if that what that actually means. Database, data writer, glue context. Let me see. Glue context, write dynamic frame from JDBC config. Write dynamic frame from JDBC config. There it goes. So from here, what do we have? We have the frame that is going to write. We have this is the connection options. So in connection options, such as pass and database table optional. So it doesn't say everything that's part of connection options. So where do we find the detail related to connection options? Let me see if I can find something related to that. So, but based on what I'm seeing though, if that is a an option. I don't know where that would be though. Connection options. Let me go back. So if that is the case, that means we run connection options. In the connection options, if we were to pass in a post action again, and assuming that this works, this is saying that it's going to execute after data is loaded, but that's not what we want, right? In our case, we're not trying to load data. I mean, so I get it. If you are loading data, you want a procedure to run after the fact, then this makes sense. We're not trying to. The ultimate goal here was call it stored procedure, right? That's ultimately what we're trying to do. I'm just wondering though if this does work. So let me ask you this: the procedure that you're trying to execute, are you trying to execute it after data is loaded, or are you trying to just execute it just whenever you want to execute it, right? Like some kind of schedule, maybe once every hour or at the end of the night. Is that the goal? Just run the procedure when you want, or is there some sort of reaction to running the procedure, like loading data? After data gets loaded, we want to run the procedure. Because I think if that's the case, then we could try this approach where after we load data to a table, then we would run the procedure after that action. So we could try that as an approach. But I think in your case, I'm assuming you're trying to run the procedure only. And man, it's just very odd because I don't see any direct path right now. Like again, I do that. What you're trying to do when it comes to running procedures, I do that all the time. Just the thing for me in a way is I have a software that again external, has nothing to do with AWS, that does that. So it's very easy to do. Doing it through AWS, whether it be Glue or Lambda or any other service, dude, I mean, honestly, I would not have thought that it would have been this challenging to do, but it seems like it is for whatever crazy reason it is. The only thing I could think of as a workaround if this does work would be to load nothing, right? Have a file that's empty, so it can't load nothing because there's nothing to load, but nevertheless, the procedure will run after that. Let's try that as a workaround. Again, I don't like that approach, but I mean, if it works, it works, right? So let me see, what do I have for my jobs? What are my options for my jobs that I have right now? So I have this is Redshift to S3 bucket. I was trying to see if I had something like S3 to Redshift. There it goes. I have one right here. S3 to Redshift. Let me see if this is still valid, I guess. Let me go to my S3 bucket. Let me see where this is pointing to. This is pointing to... which bucket is it pointing to? So it's product summary, project 2. Let's see what that is. So if I go to product summary, there we go, product summary, there it goes. So it's pointing to this bucket, which is staging, product summary. So let's take a look at that. Staging, product summary. Okay, so we do have some data in here. Let me download it, take a look at it real quick. Okay, so let me do this. I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna mess around with the data. Leave it as is. I'm going to go back to this job, right? And let's look at that scenario where we're going to mess around with this dynamic frame from dynamic frame from JDBC. So under the connections, we're going to try this out, which would be post action, and then it would need to be the procedure, right? So let's try that out to see if we actually have some success with that. And this would be under connection options. Yep. So comma, post action. So in this case, we would do call, where is it? There it goes. We're going to call this procedure. I know in their example, they put begin, then the procedure, then end. I don't know if that's needed or not, but we'll try it without it. It may be needed, but we'll try it without it and see what happens. So let me go ahead and save this. Let me see what database it's trying to connect to. Is it Redshift or something else? Database. No, where's my database at? There we go, the Redshift. Perfect. So, all right, cool. So now let's go ahead and run it, man. Let's run it. Let's see it run. So this is going to be interesting, man, because if it does work, even though it seems like I think it's a pain in the ass to go through that approach, maybe the workaround would be you would have to have something like it's trying to load data, but there's no, that file will make it empty. So nothing gets loaded, but ultimately that kind of tricks it to execute the procedure, which again, man, that should not be the way to do it, but hey, if it works, it works. So let's see, it's executing. 32 seconds. How long did it take? 55 last time, so it should be almost done. $43 seconds. Let's see. Hopefully no errors. Should be done. Still running. Still running. Come on, man. Still running over a minute. Dude, it took 16 seconds to start. No, never mind. It took 16 seconds before. 17. Okay, so now it should be. There it goes. All right, so it did run successfully. No errors, right? So that's a good thing. No errors. So let's take a look at our Redshift database. Let me run this query. And just kind of curious. Dude, it worked. Look at that, 99. It did update. So it ran the procedure. It did change it to 99. Because again, it was at 1. I had it at 1. It did execute that procedure. So, okay. So we know that worked. Now, the problem that I see in a way is we did have to load data to, I think, what did we load it? Staging. Was it sales or product summary? That's what it was. So let me query this real quick. So if I were to query this table, staging, product summary. So let's see how many rows. we have right now. So right now we have, what do we have? So we have 22200. Damn, never mind. Hold up. We have 2.2 million in this table. So there's all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to truncate that table. Staging, product summary. So let's see how many rows we have in here. 0, right? 0. So now if I go back to, this is that sample CSV file. Did I download it? I think I did. So let me go ahead and open up that file real quick. Let me open this up in Sublime Text. All right, so this is what we have in here. You know what? Let me create another copy. I'm going to change this. Let me create a copy real quick. All right, cool. Created a copy. So this guy here, I'm going to delete the data. Right? So they just delete the data. Save it. Let me close out. So now what I want to do, I'm going to re-upload the data back, but without data, right? So upload it. It's going to overwrite. Again, the size is pretty much nothing because there's no data there. So now if I go back to my job, my glue job, and let's run it again. No, hold on. Before we run it, cause I'm gonna change the quantity back again, right? Because I want to just confirm again that the procedure is actually running. So in this case, if we look at quantity sold, dude, oh, never mind. I gotta move to the side. You can't see it. If we look at quantity sold, it says 1. There it goes, 1. So if it runs successfully, this should be 99. So let's run this. So keep in mind, the workaround that we're doing right now to make this work is we're going to kind of pretend that we're going to load data from source A to Redshift, right? In this case, S3 bucket. But what I did was I actually don't have any data in the file. All I have is the header. That's it, but no data. So what I'm expecting to happen, nothing to get loaded because there's nothing to load. And then, but ultimately, there is what's called post action after data loads that you could run some kind of action, right? And like in our case, it will be a procedure. We will run a procedure. So our workaround, you want to call it, try to trick the, kind of diverge from the process a little bit, but to make it work is we're going to pretend that we're loading data, even though we're not. We shouldn't load any data. And then ultimately, when that step is done, it should execute the procedure. So, which will let us do what we want to do. Now, here's a cool thing about it. If you do have a job where you're loading data from like a S3 bucket to Redshift, well, we have the ability now to add a post action as well. So let's say if the goal is we're going to load data from S3 bucket to Redshift, but once the data gets loaded, maybe it goes to a staging table, then we want to execute a procedure, and we want the procedure to run after that, be able to ultimately, let's say, move the data from staging to some kind of other reference table. And that would, in that case, that would work fine. So this was successful. So now we go back to Redshift. Remember earlier when I queried this, it was 1, quantity 1, right? So let's check to make sure this is not quantity 1. It should be 99. And boom, there it goes, 99. So we know the procedure got executed, which is awesome. So what we need to check as well, this should still be 0. I truncated the data in this table, so it should be 0 and it should still be 0. So if I run it, 0, boom, there's no data, right? So ultimately what we did here, we kind of tricked, again, dude, it is kind of, I don't know what to think, man, that there's no way, no direct, easy way to be able to just call a procedure. You can't do it through Lambda, which I don't get, man, but you can't, it seems like, or you can't even do it through Glue. So there's no direct way to just call the procedure, and that's it. So because that's the case, I think the workaround here would be create a normal job that is loading data, right? Just like if it's loading data from S3 to Redshift, create that job. You could use like the UI to generate the code for you. And then after it finished, doing that, make sure that you're pulling a file that has no data. Kind of like the way I did, right? I deleted all the data, so there's no data in there. So you don't have to worry about data being loaded over and over again. And yeah, man, the only thing that we would have to do is in the very bottom, if we, let me move my face because I'm in the way. So if we look in the very bottom, under write dynamic frame from JDBC config, we'll see under connection options, I added this what's called post action. And inside here, I'm calling the procedure, call public, or whatever the schema that you're calling, but specify the schema, then of course the procedure name. And that's what you would put in double quotes. So ultimately, as it loads data, which in our case had 0 blank data, we tricked it, but it's going to execute the procedure after that step is done. So again, it may not be the prettiest looking solution, but it works. We tried it out. It seemed to work, and it did exactly what we wanted to do. It executed the procedure without loading any data, because all we want to do is execute the procedure in this case. And then of course, if you do that, then you could add some kind of schedule, right? This is where the scheduling comes in. You could have it run hourly, weekly, monthly, custom, whatever it is, right? So you could have, kind of play around with it, and if it's something that you want to run on a specific schedule. So the answer by ChatGPT, simple library import does not work. Exactly. That import that it provided does not even exist. Dude, like when we try to run in it, we even got an error message back saying that this does not even exist. So I don't know where the hell we got that from. It probably made the assumption that, there should be a JDBC, a method, and this is how you do it. So again, it made some assumptions. I have no idea where it got its information from, but its assumptions were wrong because it was not valid for sure. So here's the thing. Now that we figured it out and we solved it, it actually comes in handy for 2 solutions. Comes in handy for when you're loading data, like legitimately loading data from S3, for example, to Redshift, and after data gets loaded, you want to execute a procedure. This will come in very handy for that, what we just did. The second thing that comes in handy, now that we tested it out, would be if you don't want to load data, but you just want to execute the procedure, then this would be kind of a way to trick it. Like, make sure your file has 0 data in it, but has a header, but 0 data, and do everything like normal, but just add that post action at the end to execute the procedure. So, yes, my bad. So the reason why I'm not visible is I was trying to show my screen, and I noticed that this section that I was trying to share over here, my face was covering it up. So that's kind of why I became visible for a bit. Or we use AWS step functions. So that would be probably something else to look into, step functions, to see how that approach should work, right? To do something basic, right? Because it is basic. Like I'm telling you, to call a procedure as a step, all the tools that I use, and even the one that I use right now for production, which is the visual crones, dude, it allows to do that super easy, like really really easy. Um, but again, though, these are like external tools that are kind of designed. They're very feature rich for like, you know, configuring a job with meeting steps to do all kinds of different things. But yeah, I think what we could do, man, next week we'll look into step functions and try to see how easy or not easy, right? If it's doable to do it to step functions. But at least for now, worst case, um, if it doesn't work in step functions, at least we have a workaround that would work, right? Which is kind of what I just showed. I'll make a video over this as well, kind of showing how to do this. And then, so yeah, if you know, again, if you do want to use this solution or anybody else wants to use it, at least there's some kind of workaround to make it work. So, hey, I need advice. Every time I get a task to work upon, first I feel it would be difficult, and then I overthink it. So when you say you overthink it, you're just um, I mean, it sounds like when you do get the task, you're assuming that it is going to be difficult off the bat, right? Is it normal in IT world, but ultimately I get the work done, already working in IT for 5 years, but always nervous when I get new tasks. So I was like that in the beginning, man. I will say that for sure. I will say in the first, for sure, good. I'm gonna say at least 3 years or so, 4 years. I felt I was like that, especially when I switched jobs. So I was like that in my first IT job that I worked at, and I did a lot of SQL stuff, a lot of database stuff, and became somewhat decent at it, anyways. But in the beginning, I did feel that way because I was working with these senior programmers. They were like C# developers, and I knew they knew way more than I do, right? And because for me, I was still kind of new. Um, so yeah, when I worked on certain projects, certain tasks, I did feel a little bit nervous, like, oh man, like, all right. But I'm kind of like you, because that's what it sounds like. I always eventually figured it out, right? I found a solution. I figured out how to do it, got the job done. But I always felt that way. I would say towards the end, before I left the company, I actually felt confident. I felt way more confident and of the work that I was doing. It wasn't until I went to my next job that I worked at, where I kind of felt a little nervous as well, because at that point I went to a company where I had to work with 32 databases. Think about it, 32 databases, and each database had had an estimate anywhere from 100 tables to some of them even had like over 1,000 tables. So I had to deal with 32. Now, not all were production. Like half of them were dev, and the other half were production. But still, 32 databases. I was nervous, man. I was like, damn, this is a lot. And on top of that, there was this, because at that point I was a little more senior, there was this kind of expectation to kind of start contributing right away. So that's kind of where the nervousness even came a little bit more. Like, now I need to learn this. There was no documentation, no nothing. I had to like do my own research. But I would say though that, for me, going through some of those challenges, you do get a little bit more confident as you go on. I think to some degree, man, you're always gonna have that little bit of that nervousness, right? Especially if you're doing something new. When you start doing the same thing over and over again, those tasks will become a lot more comfortable because you already done it before, right? It's like if somebody asks you to do a task to automate this process from A to Z, and then 6 months later they ask you, hey, can you do the same thing for us again? Like, there's a good chance you're not going to feel nervous because you've done it already. So the more that you do overall, you should notice your nervousness may go down. But I think the good thing about it, though, because that's what it sounds like what you're telling me, is you're figuring out solutions. Even though you're nervous, even though it may feel like, man, how am I going to do this? Eventually you figure out the problem. And I will say that's what I went through too, man, in my earlier days where I may get stuck or I may feel a little bit nervous of a project because I feel like, man, this may be a little bit more bigger than what I can handle. But I always figured out how to solve the problem. And so as long as you do that, I wouldn't really be at least concerned or worried from a job standpoint because at least you're doing the job, right? You're getting it solved. So that's number one. That's the main thing that companies matter for the most half. But I think it's always going to be there, man. You should see it go down more and more, but I think it does take time. Most developers that I have talked to as well, that have been coding for like 10 years, even 15 years, some of these guys still feel kind of nervous, man. Like, somebody that I knew, I mean, they're like 12 years coding or so. Well, they lost their job. Well, now they got to go back and find a job. Well, they feel kind of nervous going through the whole process. But even though they know what they're doing, but there is that nervousness because it's like when you're dealing with code, dude, I don't care how senior you are in coding, you don't know everything, man. It's impossible to know everything because there's so many aspects of programming, right? You got game development, you got Internet of Things, you got API development, web, AI, machine learning, the list goes on, dude. Like there's so many different areas. So even if you're an expert in machine learning and AI and all of that, that necessarily doesn't mean that you know how to develop APIs. Now you can learn, of course, but at the moment you may not know. You're gonna have to learn it, right? You got to put some effort. So, so let's see. What do you say? JN Design says, "Fake it till you make it." I'm gonna tell you something, man. Like, I don't think that's faking it. Like, because if you're getting the work done, at least you know what you're doing, right? So that's not faking it. I think faking it is when you don't. It's like somebody who doesn't know how to code, but they get the job, and because you faked it, right? You made the impression like, hey, I know how to code, but I don't. Now then you're kind of screwed in that case, right? Because you're gonna have to learn stuff quickly, but if you're getting things done, again, you're not faking it. You're just, it's more self, right? A lot of it is self. You're self downing yourself for whatever reason. I mean, that would probably be my question. Is there a reason why you think that you feel you can't get it done, even though you've been getting it done? That's what it sounds like. You get the job done. Like, do you work with a lot of developers that you feel are very like way more advanced than you, like very senior? Because I think sometimes that may be the case too. At least for me, in my earlier days, that's kind of what I felt because I was working with more senior developers. I was like brand new in the industry, but they were very senior. Like when I say very, they've been programming for like 20 plus years, so they were way more advanced than me. And I felt kind of nervous because I was like, dude, like, whatever I propose, they may come back and say I'm full of crap, or whatever idea that I may have, they may again shut them down because they should know, they know better than I do. So there was always this nervousness, I guess, that I have, but a lot of that has went away throughout the years because I kind of realized even if I don't know something, dude, I'll figure it out. Just like the way we went through this exercise right now, like we figured it out, right? Spend, I don't know how many hours have we spent so far? Maybe 2-3 hours or so from last week to this week. But we solved it. We figured out a solution. May not be the best solution, but it's a solution that works. So, I have a friend in Amazon, Google, and they keep saying first few months they just keep breaking stuff. Broke production. Damn, they broke production, but that's how they learn to ultimately survive in IT. We have to do what is hard, and that what makes life easy. So if you're able to work for a company that is okay, like they're giving you time to learn, that should make it a little bit easier. I feel like I have never been in that position though. Every company that I have worked on. So again, those of you who may not know, but I work for myself now. I do have my own company, and I have like a small team, very small team, but we do like software development, integration stuff, database stuff. That's kind of what we do. But before I had my own business, we I did work for other companies. Every company that I worked for, it was like very like rush. Like, dude, the expectations were you're new, you just started, but ultimately they were expecting some production out of me probably in the next 2 weeks. Kind of like the one that I told you where I started and I had to learn the database schemas for like 32 databases. I want to say 32. It was more like probably half of that or close to 20. So like 20 databases because the rest were dev. But it's like 20 databases. But some of these databases had like over 1,000 tables and then had hundreds of procedures and functions. And I mean, the list goes on and on. So I had to get familiar with that. This was Oracle database. So I had to get familiar with all of that in a short period of time, then get familiar with the system as well. And again, the expectations were kind of, hey, we need, just because we're short staffed and everything, we need, we're hiring you because we need help, but we need to contribute soon, pretty much. But again, if I was a newbie, dude, I would have been scared, dude. I can tell you right now, if I was like a noob, I would have been extremely scared in that situation. The reason why it worked out okay, I was already more senior at the time. So I was able to do a lot of reverse engineering, like learn the UI, the application that they were using. It kind of reverse engineer to figure out some of the key tables, right? Just like how I mentioned, some database had like over 1,000 tables, but out of those 1,000 tables, not all of them were as important. So I was able to kind of fine-tune down to key tables. When I met with some of my colleagues to kind of pick their brain, I was able to kind of ask some key questions of specific, system, like database table, procedures, things of that nature, right? I was able to kind of like determine, hey, like what are some of the key procedures? Based on the procedures, I kind of reverse engineered the procedure to determine which tables were some of the main tables. So by the end of the week, I was able to at least nail down a good portion of identifying key tables, key procedures, how some of these were, because I wasn't working on the system development. I was more on the integration side, the development side. And then, of course, when stuff came up to update on some of the integration projects or whatever, I was a little bit more prepared, I guess, going through that process. But yeah, man. Again, if I was a noob, dude, I would have been scared big time. There's no way I would have been able to do that. But I think me at that time being more senior, I was able to better handle that, being in that tough situation. But I think every company I have worked at before, man, has always been very, like, it was. I don't feel there was no leadway. There was no, hey, you got a few months to learn this and then get going. And it was like, dude, after the first week or two, it was like, boom. But it worked out I think for me though, that made me spend like that accelerated my knowledge though too, because I was forced to. I felt like I was in a position like, hey, unless I want to lose my job or something, I need to learn it, man. I need to figure this out. I need to solve these problems. So I spent a lot of time even after work. Like I go to work, like, especially when I first started working somewhere, work, it was 8 hours a day. But dude, after that, I'll go home and I was still working. Like I was, again, because I knew the expectations were kind of high and there was urgency. There was some pressure, right? Hey, like to contribute, sooner rather than later. So I had to get familiar with the system or the databases or whatever, things of that nature. But again, I think the long term, it actually helped me out in ways. It kind of forced me to learn quickly. But yeah, man, it was stressful. I can tell you that right now, man. I was putting crazy hours back then too. Like, especially in those times, man, I was easily working like 12 hours a day. And and here's the thing, I was on salary, so it's not like I was getting paid. When you're on salary, you get paid, traditionally you get paid for 8 hours a day. All the extra hours I was doing, dude, I wasn't getting paid for that. But again, just, I don't know, man. But I think a lot of that kind of will build my work ethic too, which is kind of like even now. I do work a lot, but I kind of my work is different now than what it was before. Because I do have a small team, so my team does some of the programming and database stuff. I do more like meet with clients and I do some coding as well because I still enjoy it, but not as much as I used to. And then ultimately it gives me more time to do other stuff like YouTube video, live streams, and things of that nature. So kind of works out. To ultimately survive in IT, we have to do what is keep learning, building knowledge to make sure you have a job security given the market is so. Dude, the market is competitive. It is real competitive. You're 100% right, man. And I think if you want to keep your job, again, nothing guaranteed, man, because just like people that got laid off, a lot of these people, they were like surprised that they got laid off, right? So there is no such thing as guaranteed. But what you could do to help out in ways is, yes, continue to expand your knowledge, because as your manager or the people in your organization see that, they will see that as a positive because you're putting the initiative to keep on learning. So that's a big plus. As long as you're getting work done as well, you're actually getting things done, that's good, right? Because if you're not, then that's an issue. And because, again, the market is competitive, man, it's tough because if you happen to be somebody who gets laid off, unless you have a lot of, emergency money stashed up and FU money and all of that, which, again, we should all strive to get to be there. But I get it, not everybody's there yet, right? Especially if you're still early in your career. It's tough, man. You don't want to be in a position where you got to drain your savings to survive until you get another job or nothing like that either. Like they say, pain is, and glory is forever. Yeah, exactly, man. I was offered, let's see, Jay in Design says, I was offered a job within my company as a software engineer because I automated some processes. They actually paid for training. I still have a long way to go, but I'm figuring it out. Dude, it is scary. Jay in Design, that's very cool, man. Like, that is very cool because that is my experience as well, man. My experience where the way I got my foot in the door in IT wasn't because of my so-called, because I got hired on as IT. I actually was doing something way different. I wasn't even an IT man, put it that way. I was like in a whole different department, but I put the initiative to do some other stuff to help out. To first it was like documentation of like system processes and all of that, workflows and so forth, and then from there, I did this in my own will, but one of my colleagues was working on he was tasked to work on a SQL view. Now he's a C# developer, so he didn't want to deal with SQL. He just wanted to code C#. But I told him, like, dude, I was kind of new. I was like, dude, that looks very cool. Like, can I give it a shot? I have no idea of learning SQL. I went home, started learning SQL, and I was able to build that view literally in the matter of like 2 weeks or so. Like, I learned enough about SQL and then started learning the relationships of the database and all that, able to build the view. Here's the thing, the view design was bad, but the results were valid, were correct. And that's all the business cares. The data was valid. And dude, after that, my IT manager was impressed, and that's where he hired me on to be part of the IT team. Dude, and ever since then, I've been part of IT. So yeah, man, that is awesome, dude. That you were able to build something, and now because of that something that you build, that automation process that you automated, it opened up opportunity now. But here's the good thing, though, man. If the company gave you a chance, knowing that you didn't really have a background in that area, but they gave you a chance, I think the good thing in that area is they're going to give you some time to learn. It's just going to be up to you now to continue that learn, right? To take it to the next level and continue to grow. And it's a process, man. You're not going to learn everything in a year either, but you could at least learn enough to get going and kind of get going from there, man. Like, so yeah, knowledge is something no one can take from you. Exactly, man. Exactly. I really love today's session. We should always keep last 5 minutes. Exactly, man. No, I totally agree, man. I think the session was good. We solved the problems because that's the main thing we're trying to do here, man. Talk tech, talk different things, solve problems, which we did. It always feels good, man. It always feels good when we actually solve a problem, and we solved the problem today with the issue with calling the procedure. And again, man, I do feel, these talks toward the end, I think is good, man. So I like including that into the session for sure. All right, man. It's already 11:30, or about to be 11:30 anyways. So again, guys, man, appreciate it for joining live stream. Again, it's every Thursday, 9 p.m. Normally it's 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So every Thursday, normally what we do, we talk different topics in the beginning related to Python, tech stuff, programming stuff, and then at around 10, we start trying to solve any problems. So any problems you have, whether it be source code that you want me to review, whether it be AWS stuff that we want to test out, and whatever, do different things. That's kind of what we do here, man. So anybody who's joining, if you do have questions or you do have any problems, even work stuff, right? Like you're trying to solve stuff for work, you could bring it up on the live stream. And yeah, I use AWS, so if you're using AWS, we could easily try to replicate it right on my side and try to solve the problems. So again, guys, man, appreciate it. Thanks for joining, and see y'all guys next time. Peace.